Some here I've lost.
Your Blog Talk commercial was stopped or whatever for some reason, but we can join the server now.
Okay, let's do that.
Revolution Radio listeners, the sun is rising across this great United States, and that means it's straight from the heart of Texas. It is time for Clayton Douglas, the Free American. Take it away, Clayton.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American. My guest is scheduled to be Michael Tellinger. He'll be coming in from South Africa in probably the second hour, trying to balance and juggle world time zones. Can get a little confusing. 5 o'clock in the afternoon for him. Now, I need to kind of need to take you in a direction. You know, Michael Tellinger will be talking about finding cities in Africa 150,000 years old. Now, maybe it's 150,000 years old. It might be older, it might be younger, because of the science we've been given to measure these things is distorted, it's convoluted, it's shaped to support certain theories and discard others. That's what we see happening to us in the Patriot movement right now. divide and conquer. It's the oldest, some of the oldest strategy around. And in my films and my research, I've certainly found that Homeland Security, FEMA, I filmed the first Homeland Security meeting run by Colonel John Brinkerhoff from FEMA. He told me 10 years ago, and the law enforcement people there that were there that had enough intelligence to listen and understand what he's saying, we're in for a long war. This war may go on longer than the Cold War. This war is this war will be fought on American soil. This war, and I put this out 10 years ago, and they tried to kill me to silence this. In the show just preceding this, Rick and Annie brought on Dr. Carly, and Dr. Carly, Dr. Rebecca Carly's been a guest on my show for many years. I certainly understand her position. I understand that for the last 10 years at least that I know about, she has been working. She has been trying. She has been trying to rescue her son. And I've got stories after story after story about the same thing happening to other people. To other people out there, like Mark Taylor's mother, who came to see me one time in Arizona, and her son got kidnapped in the local hospital up in Phoenix after she left me to go back to Colorado. And her son was held for over a year and is still being held and still being drugged and still being controlled by the medical profession. Dr. Carly stepped out of the medical profession to fight this. And she and some other guests, the gentle lady that I'll have on, probably Tammy, have graced some of your shows out there. And frankly, I'm disappointed in you, some of you. You know, some people that I've been trying to help, called in, upset here and there, upset there, fighting amongst ourselves. And if you dare suggest that Dr. Carly has done everything in her power with the limitations that are being placed upon an enslaved society, if you don't think she's doing everything she can to help her son and to prevent it happening to other people, I mean, I've been on the inside of this, folks. My wife, my sons, they thought the best thing because the doctors recommended that they arrange long-term care, make sure he takes this medication, make sure he takes that medication, and they intended to keep me for the rest of my life in a nursing home. That's what their intentions were. That didn't work with me, but it works with a lot of other people. And the answer ain't going out and killing somebody that took your son. Who do you kill? Let's see, it's the New World Order's to blame, the banksters to blame. You want to kill the clerk down there at the Bank of the West or at Wells Fargo? They are, after all, laundering all the drug money, aren't they? Our whole society has been twisted. It's like Ayn Rand said 50 years ago, maybe more, after she escaped from a communist country. She said government has no control over honest citizens, so they're going to make criminals out of us. That's what they've tried to do to me. They've tried to, he's an anti-Semite, he started the militias. Yeah, in the governor's office. I have looked for solutions. I said back, that's why I've had Dr. Carly on, to warn you not to take the vaccine. We could step out of this. We know what their plans are. they're really honest about it. They tell you, yeah, we're gonna bring that building number 7 down here in a few minutes. Oh, you mean it hadn't already fallen yet? Oh, well, it will in just a couple of minutes here. The truths that you get are accidental, and this is controlled. Well, most of the nation continues to wander aimlessly around the debris of what has steadily been destroyed. Most have missed the deadliest fact that about everything that has already happened. We have allowed our future to be preemptively murdered. In a conversation last night, Jim Kerwin says about hypothetically finding billions, then going anywhere in the wider world if some miraculous windfall had just happened to one of us. That idea produced an instant silence while we each remembered so clearly that none of us was free to go anywhere or do anything any longer with or without money. The world has changed. There is no future anymore, and as a nation we will not be coming back unless we fight to stop this war upon us. Now, I tell you about a war that's been going over for thousands of years. I tell you who we've been at war with. I've told you who God punished, who Jesus pointed the finger at. And that's not talking about religion. I'm just talking about learning from history. But you'll have the people out there that are calling veterans criminals. Well, they murdered all of these people. Yeah, and somebody murdered the Indians too. Wasn't me, wasn't you. But we can change things if we change the way we think. What has happened here, folks, is you've been programmed. And the world created for you out there is really not far different from the movie about the Matrix. You are controlled. They tell you what to think. Even the movies preceding that one, like They Live with Roddy Piper, presented a pretty accurate picture with a dash of fiction thrown in about what we have here, what we are going. And I've tried to tell you, we're in a war. We're in a war. Somebody wants to kill you. Now, they just pointed out that 800,000 American children have disappeared every year, and we don't do squat about it. We found some of the satanic connections. It could be, some Indian cult. I don't know. Maybe, it doesn't matter. We got choices. We're born into this world, and we got a choice, and we got free will, so we can decide whether we want to be good or evil. If you want to be good, if you don't want to hurt your neighbor, and this is why all of the criticism towards me is such bullshit. I don't care what color you are, and I don't care what religion you are. However, if you come into my schools and you try to teach my children a lifestyle that could be deadly, whether it's drugs or whether it's homosexuality, it ain't good for them. The Bible, we're not talking about religion here, we're talking about people just like you and me writing down something and hoping that sometime in the future someone will read that and say, hey, look, I think they got that. I think they got that. This civilization that we're in is hundreds of thousands of years old. They have fed you a false paradigm. They've given it, this is a made-for-TV lifestyle. This ain't the way life is. And I came up years ago, I came up with a plan to combat that. That plan is still viable, but only if you lay all of the religions back And I'm talking about with a Jew on one side of me, a Muslim on the other, and if we're living on one square block, if we all work together, we could make that one square block better than anything in the whole town surrounding us. I'm talking about the Liberty Village concept. Working together, growing your own food, generating your own electricity. Oh, but Clay, you can't do that. There's ordinances against that. You can't have a garden in the city anymore. Yeah, somebody thinks you can pass a law and tell you not to breathe the air around you, not to drink the water. Well, they've tried that. They've tried that over in Colorado and Oregon. Hey, you could get busted. You could go to jail for putting a rain barrel up. That water's got to run down that hill and into that creek and into that lake because somebody bought that lake. That ain't the way it's supposed to work. Now, the USA has spent the last 13 years just watching while this country was totally destroyed. We collectively did nothing about any of the realities that our minute-to-minute problems have become. This is no longer in dispute. Now a number of people are thinking about fleeing, running for their lives as if there were somewhere to escape to. Most are totally unaware that there's only one bank in the world, with very few exceptions: Iceland, Iran, maybe Venezuela. Everywhere else, all money is totally controlled by the global banking cartel from the city of London. That'd be the Rothschilds Banks that owns the world monetary system. Whatever money that anyone takes, when they can run, can be all snatched away with the stroke of a pen, regardless of where you go. Look at Snowden right now, running from country to country, hanging out with our enemies because our enemies might have been right all along. Without money, there can be no miraculous recovery for anyone that tries to flee. Now, I've always been absolutely against fleeing. I took an oath to defend this Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. There was no expiration date on that oath. None. So everything that I do is with the same goal in mind that I had 25 years ago when I ran the story of Operation Watchtower in my motorcycle magazine. Got a lot of bikers pissed off. Got a lot of Republicans, police officers that were upset, especially if they started to understand that I was right and correct in what I was telling them. Now, out of a small underground newspaper, more or less, a biker magazine out of Miami, I blew the whistle on George Bush's drug-running operation. They ran side by side with Iran-Contra, involved the same people. Guns for money this way, drugs for guns this direction. You know, this is free trade at its finest. But the people are rude. The people are the ones that are going to jail because of what they got in their pockets. And now you're starting to find out, well, oh, Clay, that Liberty Village thing won't work because the zoning, we can't have a goat in our backyard. We can't have a flower garden in our backyard. We can't have a vegetable. We can grow flowers. They don't do anything. But if we grow vegetables, the government's got to come in and inspect it, or we can't share it with our neighbor over here. That's communism, folks. That's the protocols in action. That's what is happening right now to you. I've tried to tell you, you're in a war. We are in a war. Case of a major disaster like Katrina again, we might need 400,000 well-armed, well-trained, organized, disciplined troops to control the American people. Well, you saw them exercising that and using your SWAT team, so it don't cost the government nothing. They have federalized the police departments. That was with Senate Bill 1959. homegrown terrorist. Oh, it could be the country. You know, this guy's a conspiracy theorist. You can, yeah, 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 you need to be scared of him. You need to be afraid, man. I mean, the only thing that's saving us is the NSA tapping everybody's phone so we can find these terrorists like him. Oh, you don't believe anything he tells you. Huh. So now people are starting to realize that everything we told them was accurate. It's actually worse than we thought. We've got $49 million they just gave away to 22,000 illegal aliens, all evidently living in one address. One house there had 22,000 illegal aliens, and they got away with 49 million of your dollars. Government taking care of you? Government investigating themselves? You want to flee? They don't call it the New World Order for nothing. They're controlling the banks in 93 countries, the ones that are being fed all of your foreign aid. Why are you supporting 93 countries, many of them communist in nature, inaction, socialist? Like they tried to do in Germany, National Socialist. I mean, that's a great way. Anybody that wants to fight against the whole communist socialist system suddenly has to become a Nazi to fight that? See, I don't think so. This is the manipulation of your perceptions. They want to paint you, Clay Douglas, as a bad guy. I haven't hurt anybody. I don't steal from nobody. I don't offer any advice. I write fiction. You want to read my fiction? I write facts. I got some facts here. Historical. You can check them out. I do the show to get the word to people out there, like Dr. Rebecca Carl, who's fighting the fight, who's had her son taken in that fight, like Donna Taylor, whose son Mark Taylor was the first kid shot at Columbine, still being drugged over 10 years later by the system, after he wrote a book about it, after he appeared on movies about it. And they got him locked up someplace in some halfway house being drugged. And there's 900,000 of your children out there, maybe not yours, but somebody's children, have disappeared every year according to the FBI. The FBI doesn't appear to be doing anything to find those children. Where are they going? Are they going underground? Are they being eaten by aliens? Are they being shipped off in little wicker baskets down the Nile River so they can be adopted by someone? There should be answers. But we can't get answers when the people supposedly in charge of now, you know, as they told you after Sandy Hook. Now, don't listen to any more information. If you put out any information that hadn't been approved by us here in Connecticut, if it hadn't been approved by us, then it ain't real. Then it don't matter. No, it doesn't matter that this little girl popped up there 2 or 3 days, that there's been no autopsies, that nobody's been allowed to view the bodies. It was all a closed casket. Couldn't bury you. See, maybe there wasn't anybody in those caskets. If so, let us see the autopsy reports. And somebody besides this fake medical examiner. Crisis, another one of the crisis actors. Like the principal of the school that appeared 2 or 3 times. You are being taken for a ride. And you got leaders. You've got leaders, you've got people that understand. The people I'm in contact with have been everybody from FBI directors, colonels in the Marines, several colonels in the Marines, that I've talked with and gathered information for and passed it on to you, like in this Mystery Babylon, New World Order Unveiled. And that picture that popped up next was me and Larry Devers after I threw a benefit for him with the biker community. They killed him too. It is a war, folks. Now you want to flee. Yeah, run for your life. There's only one bank in the world with very few exceptions. Everywhere else, all money is totally controlled by the global banking cartel from the city of London, the Rothschilds, World Monetary System. So whatever money that anyone takes, when they can run, can all be snatched away with the stroke of a pen, regardless of where you go. Without money, can be no miraculous recovery for anyone that tries to flee. Well, they do the same thing, extracting the money. You don't want to donate to Clay Douglas. He's an anti-Semite. He's a racist. Doesn't matter that it's a lie. Oh, yeah, he's selling that book to raise money for a snitch named Huevos. So they used that on me. Sorry, don't know any snitch named Huevos. Don't sell anything else. On that video right there, I've got a picture of my Plius. I attempted to buy the town of Plius, and they pulled out the big guns for that. Got a governor to come on. Now, we need to buy Plius. They didn't want us having reasonable housing and working together. It's divide and conquer. They don't want you supporting me, and I'm telling you that I'm the one you should be supporting. Republicans, Democrats running for office, that's bullshit. They're going to do whatever their donations, who made the money, who's bought them, who paid for them, they're going to do what they want them to do. Monsanto is your monster in the closet, the monster under the bed. Monsanto is the bad guy. Monsanto gave us Roundup, the Monsanto gave us Agent Orange, and Monsanto is probably putting the aluminum in the planes. This is geoengineering, if not genetic engineering. They're probably actually altering and screwing with your DNA through this nanotechnology. So it might be a lot worse than any of us think. What should we do? Here's the question. What should we do? Lay down and take it? Or do like one couple of hosts, probably without the engaging their brain before they put their mouth into action. Talks about going out and killing somebody. Well, you know what? When you do that, you think like that, they've really recruited you. You suddenly have reached their level of thinking. And on a vibrational level, think of love as your level of vibrational energy. Think of hate and greed as being on the lower end of that vibrational energy. The one that makes the ice look like chaotic rather than symmetrical. And when you freeze the water after broadcasting thoughts of love, I mean, come on, we got enough technology here to see there's something else happening here on another level. Now, whether the aliens or whether the demons, what they call demons, if we're talking about dimensional beings that still have access here, maybe this is what we become after we pass into another stage of existence. It don't end. I don't believe it ends. That's why I ask people, now listen, can you tell me give me a time spot. Give me a point in history here when it was easy to be free. Maybe in the West, if you lived among friendly Indians and you weren't too much of an asshole, you'd probably get by pretty well. Got your windmill up there, water out there in the well, horses for transportation when you got to go to town. That might have been the best time that we got. Now, we can mourn its loss. We can mourn its... Oh, it used to be so good. I can't believe it's gone to hell now. Well, believe me. Now, what do you want to do to turn it around? I came up with the Liberty Village concept because knowing that I'm still mortal, knowing that eventually I'm not going to feel like going out there and hacking down those trees or building the roads. So I wanted to create a refuge for me and others like me in my old age. I came up with a plan for Liberty Villages. I had 5 acres. I figured I could get 10 low-cost shelters out there, cabins or teepees, doesn't really matter. We can learn to make teepees. Got a book right over here to tell you how to make a teepee. Maybe we followed the wrong path. Maybe we should have lived up to the Indians, what the Indians wanted to do. Maybe we should have followed their lifestyle. Quite possible. Quite possible. Now, to change things, yeah, there's a lot of evil in the world. Yeah, somebody brought down building number 7. Yeah, somebody blew up the World Trade Center. Yeah, somebody sent, Pat Tillman over to Afghanistan where he got killed by friendly fire because he was about to blow the whistle on the opium trade in Afghanistan. Troops, your sons are standing guard over an opium poppy crop. Where's that money going? Where are those drugs going? The answer, the drugs are being controlled by the secret services, by the agents for the banksters. And you are the victim and you are the criminals. Pretty soon your neighbor's going to demand, well, do you know where I can get some of that? You tell them they've sucked you into the thing. They've sucked you into their scam. Yeah, he wouldn't take value, but we got him hooked on heroin. We kept him on morphine for 3 months. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But to know that it happens, and know that it could happen to you, and know that it has happened to others, shouldn't scare you. It should piss you off, and you should be figuring out ways we could work together to counter this. The people I had on yesterday agree with me that you should have a right in your home, in your backyard, to grow anything that you want. To grow food, grow tomatoes, grow pot, whatever it is. You should be able to grow that in your backyard. No laws against victimless crimes, and God gave us everything on this earth for our own benefit. So if you want to grow poppies in the front yard up there in Seattle, knock yourself out. I won't be getting down on my hands and knees trying to extract the opium. No thanks. You'll find if you legalized, or not legalized, there's no law against possessing a plant. And the law firm that I had on yesterday believes that the government has, and the city has no right to tell you that you can't grow your own food. One of the complaints I get, well, that just won't work. That just won't work because the neighborhood association won't allow it. The zoning won't allow it. Now, I've been there when they tried to change the zoning. I spoke out at a county meeting. I pointed out if they sent somebody to come onto my ranch or my property in the middle of the night, they'd end up dead. And we defeated the zoning regulation. We defeated they wanted to put a meter on our well. We can defeat the city ordinance that prevents you from collecting rainwater. The rain fell on your property, it's yours. So I've got several organizations, one a legal firm that will help to back us. Pro bono, probably. We've got the education attempt. Now, there is going to be a course installed at Timothy Bible College about how to convert your home into an energy efficient capital generating unit with very few modifications. Very few modifications. In the states where you can grow it, yeah, grow you some pot. Grow you some hemp. Restore the hemp fields of yesterday. It upsets the DEA because they look like pot. Take their power away. It's one thing we do have. We've got numbers. They have the media. Now we've got the media. Right here, right now, you're listening to this under your computer. The computer is what we created to stand up to these bastards. The computer is the cosmic mind, if you will. As it is above, so it is below. It's given us a way to access knowledge that would not be ours, that only belong to the elite who could afford that knowledge. Now we've got the access to it. Timothy Bible College and the Little Red Schoolhouse will create and help handle your education for you and your children. It'll be a part. And here's how, and you can see this right now on libertyvillages.org and on the freeamerican.com. You can see the family in LA that grows 6,000 pounds of food every year from 1/10 of an acre lot. I've got links up and links up and links up to people that are teaching you how to do this. You can learn more about agriculture. You can learn how to put down wood chips so they won't blow away in your yard, how you can restore the soil naturally without Roundup, without herbicides, without chemicals. The knowledge is there. It's yours for the taking. But you need some sort of organization. You need somebody that you can trust with your phone number, or your address, your email. I've been doing this for years. I don't sell this. I don't give out phone numbers. My phone number is up on every page of my website. You can call me anytime. I answer my phone. A time is coming when I won't be able to do that. I'm getting on more shows. This video is going up on YouTube. Viral. Make it viral. Because what I'm telling you, and what I'm going to tell you in the next hour, if Michael Tellinger makes it back into town in time, is that we've been fighting this battle for hundreds of thousands of years. They depend on a slave state. I won't be a slave. And if you don't want to be a slave either, if you feel the same way that I do, then we all need to figure out how to be free Americans together. How we can, I don't care what you do. I don't care, whether you like the missionary position or dog style. I don't care what you do in your own bedroom. I don't care who you do it with. I don't care what color you are. The blood in our veins runs red. black folks out there ought to understand better than us what it means to be a slave. And that's what the government wants to do. Enslave you. Matter of fact. Matter of fact. The means of surviving the reaction. This is what they think about the population. The means of surviving the reaction is by changing the system before the reaction can return. By this means, politicians become more popular in their own time, and the public pays later. In fact, the measure of such a politician is the delay time. The same thing is achieved by government by printing money beyond the limit of its the gross national product. When economic process called inflation, this puts a large quantity of money into the hands of the public and maintains a balance against their greed, creates a false self-confidence in them, and for a while stays the wolf from the door. They must eventually resort to war to balance the account, because war is the ultimately is merely the act of destroying the creditor. And the politicians and the publicly hired hitman that justify the act to keep the responsibility and blood off the public conscience. If people really cared about their fellow men, they would control their appetites and greed, procreation, so that they would not have to cooperate on a credit or welfare social system which steals from the worker to satisfy the bum. Since most of the general public will not exercise restraint, there are only two alternatives to reduce the economic inductance of the system. Lest the population bludgeon each other to death in war, which will only result in total destruction of the living earth. Take control of the world by use of economic silent weapons in a form of quiet warfare, and reduce the economic inductance of the world to a safe level by a process of benevolent slavery and genocide. 800,000 children missing, 500 million aborted before they could even get into this world. Sound like genocide to me. Now, according to the government's study, the latter option has been taken as the obvious better option. At this point, it should be crystal clear to the reader why absolute secrecy about the silent weapons is necessary. The general public refuses to improve its own mentality and its faith in its fellow man. It has become a herd of proliferating barbarians and, so to speak, a blight upon the face of the earth. They do not care enough about economic science to learn why they've not been able to avoid war despite religious morality, and their religious or self-gratifying refusal to deal with earthly problems renders the solution of the earthly problem unreachable to them. It is left by those few who are truly willing to think and survive as the fittest to survive, to solve the problem for themselves as the few who really care. Otherwise, exposure of the silent weapon would destroy our only hope of preserving the seed for a future true humanity. Let's see.
A broad set of enterprise and service provider customers have an acute problem as they begin to implement their cloud-based systems.
All right. The thing is, and let's going over to here. Again, without money, there can be no miraculous recovery for anyone who tries to flee. So anything that we do here has to take into account that it has to generate something. It has to generate an income. It has to generate productivity. And you can do that from your plants, from your yard, from everything that God gave you, the wind, the sun, the water. we can do that. It's only the legislation, it's only the legislators who are working for somebody else that are instilling and trying to hamper you from doing what you're supposed to. Now, all the rest of anything that anyone might want to retain is equally dead already. If you doubt this, do your own research on any subject you choose. You'll find that any profession you might want to enter has been compromised. Any ability to maintain your own health or life has been stolen, purchased, or poisoned. And of course, absolutely nothing has been done to stop these cancers that are feeding on each and every nightmare that we've been living since 1913 and the creation of the theft of our money. Aside from the massive destruction of the infrastructure for all life, there's also the outright slaughter of everything that was once protected by the first 10 amendments of the U.S. Bill of Rights. That has been added by what is being done to everyone, as this is so carefully described in A Conquered People. The billions of cameras, microphones, and drones, along with a massive police state surveillance system that no one can have a conversation with anyone else without all of it being totally recorded by these same individuals that need to be removed. Yet strange as that may seem, there is a larger and more deadly consequence at work here that made all this more than just possible. That's the unending and skyrocketing belief in criminality on all levels, with most finding ways to steal or cheat their way to what they may think of as the top. Virtually the entire concept of values are real profits fell to short-term profits that guaranteed the failure of all future possibilities in exchange for outrageous bonuses paid for committing wholesale treason. The categories are still soaring, cover virtually every criminal outrage from pedophilia, sex trafficking, illegal body parts, along with drugs, weapons, and the global war machine, because there's no longer any law, either national or international, to even interrupt this crime spree that has been as unending as Cheney and Rumsfeld's wars against the world. On the more personal side of this, there are millions of creatures that believe they will be allowed to advance along the deeply criminal members of those ancient tribes that designed this ending for the planet. The wannabes dutifully sold their souls soon as that became part of the required prerequisites. But that by itself guaranteed them nothing, because pure evil does not share. The petty millionaires and most of the trillionaires won't be included in the shift that's now taking place. These troglodytes will be as obsolete as the army of thugs that are being enlisted to deal with the outrage that's coming. Millions of these actually believe they'll be spared or even promoted during the coming slaughter. Will probably be the most surprised of all as soon as they begin finding themselves being exterminated en masse. This whole thing has been as clear as day from the beginning. It takes absolutely nothing at all to become filthy rich. All anyone needs to do is dump all the ethics, become totally subhuman, and revert to being a barbarian again. Anyone can do it if they're ruthless enough. That's why becoming filthy rich has never really had a future or a past that matters. They always meet with someone more determined and end up losing all they stole to the next generation of outlaws until there's nothing left to steal or hoard, which is where we are today. Obama has just changed our military policy again without a discussion of it with the Americans that will have to pay for it and die in it. Apparently the imposter in the White House missed the whole Cold War and the efforts of mankind to prevent a global nuclear war. Instead of keeping the planet alive, he is proposing a preemptive first strike to start World War III. If this doesn't manage to get Barry Soetoro impeached, then we all deserve to die. Obama has just announced that the first strike nuclear war is now U.S. policy. The United States government is currently preparing to launch and wage and win an offensive first strike strategic nuclear war against Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, and Syria. This will end any chance for a future for anyone, whereas the world begins to act and end these massive crimes against everything that once mattered in a world where life, freedom, and speech were treasured above all else. Unless we do this now, there'll never be a future for anyone, no matter where you choose to live. That's what I'm trying to tell you with the Liberty Village concept. We can change our area, our house, our town. Yeah, we might have to stand up in public and defend what we're doing. But if you've got hundreds of people standing beside you saying, we're all doing this is a good idea. And this law firm says we can do this. Our Constitution says we can do this. The problem is the criminals have been controlling everything and keeping you ignorant. They do it by your gasoline, they do it by your food bill. If we can produce food in our own yard and electricity in our own yard from everything God gave us, to hell with the neighborhood association, to hell with the compromised governments, to hell with the national police force, we have to take a stand. And I'm not urging you to go out and kill no one. That person that you killed might be a future leader for our side. If we've got right, if we're on the side of right, if everything that we're doing is for the good of mankind, all of us, and our neighbors, I don't care what the neighbors are. I don't care who they are. I don't care where they come from. They're here right now. Let's work together. Without the racism, without the hate, without, claim no, not doing it. And there's more. Hopefully I won't have time to cover this. You know, what we're talking about here is the entire global war on terror. That's an Israeli, or to be more specific, a Jewish racket, devised and propagandized by Jewish intellectuals and the public policy makers going back to the Jerusalem Conference on International Terrorism in 1979. The primary goals of the global war on terror are, one, to advance Israel's geopolitical agenda in the Middle East, namely the destruction and elimination of Israel's adversaries in the region using American military might, and to justify the creation of an Orwellian Jewish-run police state in the West. The global war on terror paradigm was manufactured and developed over time to replace the global war paradigm in international relations, and 9/11 served as the catalytic event required to initiate it. Now that was covered in the project for the New American Century, put on by, again, the neocon Jews. Now, in a book, The War on Truth, 9/11 Disinformation and the Anatomy of Terrorism, Nafiz Ahmad Ahmad discusses in great detail the ideological foundations for the global war on terror. We'll be back in a couple of minutes here. Thank you.
What the hell will remain a dictatorship? Oh, be quiet. Why are you guys so anti-dictator? Imagine if America was a dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they gamble and lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for healthcare and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly be controlled by one person and his family. You could wiretap phones. You could torture foreign prisoners. You could have a rigged election. You could lie about why you go to war. You could fill your prison with one particular racial group, and no one would complain. You could use the media to scare the people into supporting policies that are against their interests.
Tune in Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time for Liberation Nation with Deacon John, where America comes to hear the truth.
I know this is hard for you Americans to imagine, but please try.